Is the COVID-19 virus real? Is it infectious? Is it deadly? If it infects me and I get hospitalized, is there medicine enough to treat me and I will heal and will save my life? Is the global pandemic really this serious that everything has to stop? Is the vaccine effective? Will it prevent me from having a future COVID-19 infection or that of a family member? Is it dangerous? Does the vial contain chemicals that will harm my body? Nimbulabinaka. I'm Dr. Jone Hawea. I'm a surgeon and I advocate for good health. These are real questions that have come out because of fear, anxiety, confusion, and an inability to really look at the future with much enthusiasm. Something to look forward to because our life has basically stopped. And for us in Fiji and the South Pacific, small island states, to have our life stop like this and affect our economy means so much. It means food on the table, basic necessities are unable to be met. And so these questions are real. And I thank all of you who have forwarded these questions and allowed for me to do a little bit more research and come back with answers to help you look into the future with a bit more clarity on what is going on and be able to do things by yourselves to help you and your loved one have a healthier life. It's a huge array of topics that covers multiple issues that will need multiple videos and time to actually go into the detail. But I won't go into those details because a lot of this information comes down to basic medical scientific principles. And if you but just know these principles, it will help you a lot, especially for those of us in Fiji who belong to the current containment areas that makes us unsure about whether we should go to the next health facility or not. And what is happening, it doesn't make sense. And so I'm going to try and start to answer these questions from a practical point of view to be able to help us, at least for the time being, make sense of what is going on, and then slowly, over time, we'll try and have some more of these Talanoa sessions where we can break a lot of these issues down into the details so that we are much more clear about what's going on. So the whole of these questions can be divided into 5 big topics: the virus, the infection it causes, the global pandemic, what treatment modalities are there if someone gets infected, the prevention, which means the vaccine, and of course, the economic impacts that such a crisis means to the nation and the globe, and the intertwined relationships of all these topics: economy, health, virus, vaccine, and future economy. One topic has been missing though, that hasn't been discussed, or at least I haven't found discussed much, whether it is mainstream media, current literature that's coming out, or social media. And that is the human body and its ability to naturally fight off infection or prevent it. The human body and its ability to fight off infection and or prevent it. That is a topic that I feel has been missing, at least in these 1.5 years of this COVID-19 issue. Being discussed openly in media and in social media. And that is going to be the focus of my Talanoa. The human body and its ability to fight off infection or its ability to prevent infection. Now, in order for any infection to occur, there are 3 important factors. 1, there has to be an infection-causing organism. And these are usually fungus, bacteria, or viruses. There are other organisms that cause infections, but I wouldn't try and discuss it and cause too much confusion. The main ones are fungus, bacteria, viruses. And so that's one important factor, the organism, the agent that's causing infection. Second important factor, the environment we live in. The trees, the plants, the rivers, the seas, the air we breathe in, the water we drink, the people, that's part of the environment. Communities, churches, schools, playgrounds, these are part of the environment. Insects, animals, these other bugs that exist around us that contributes to either preventing the infection, stopping the infection from getting any worse, or making it worse altogether. So the environment around us is very important as a factor in this infection, viral infection in this case. And the third, the most important factor, the core subject that I'm going to start with in this initial video is human beings and our ability to fight off infection or prevent infection, as I have mentioned. So a lot of us would have noticed health personnel coming around our homes or our communities with a temperature gun. And I'm sure a lot of us are confused whether a high temperature means we have COVID-19, or what does it mean to have the temperature gun pointed at our heads and then have a reading and then have the health personnel make some expressions that give us a sense of confusion, anxiety, fear. There have been questions that came that went like this. What temperature causes infection? And that is a real question. To a health professional, that may sound stupid, but that is a real question. And so I'm going to try and explain temperature, what this means, and what it means in terms of the human body fighting off infection. So, whenever a bug, in this case a virus, invades our bodies, in this case, the virus enters the nostrils and seems to hover around the caves around the skull for a while. When that happens, What the body does is the computer systems in our head set the temperature target to about 37.5 and higher degrees Celsius. 37.5 degrees Celsius and higher. So it almost sets like a target temperature for the body to work and reach that temperature. Why does that need to happen? Well, we have an inbuilt defense system designed by the maker, the original designer, whoever that may be according to your belief. I believe in God. I believe that God created human beings. And so God created the human body with an inbuilt defense system in place. This skin, this is the first line of defense. It prevents bugs. The way the skin is structured prevents any bug from entering through. The hair in the nostrils, the saliva in our mouth, the hair, the mucus in our nostrils going down our windpipe, even right down to the intestine and the gut. It has mucus that have hundreds and thousands of bugs trapped. So when we cough, it's a defense mechanism that the body makes in getting the bugs get stuck on the mucus, and then we cough it out and we either spit it out or swallow it and let it be killed further by digestive juices in our guts. Amazing, isn't it? Well, that's natural defense mechanism. So, let's get back to the temperature. The temperature has been set at 37.5 or higher, sometimes 38, 39, 40. The body then starts getting to work. All the muscles in the body starts to move. And that's why whenever we have a fever, what do you have? Shivering. You are shivering because the body is trying to reach that temperature to create enough heat. Why? So that the heart can pump and get the blood flowing through the blood vessels so that our defense cells can travel to where the invading organism is at and attack it and try and kill it. So whenever somebody comes and measures your temperature, we are trying to measure whether your body is fighting naturally, is fighting an organism. So it's a good thing. So if somebody finds that your temperature is high, it does not necessarily mean that you have COVID-19. What it means is that your body is fighting a foreign organism that does not normally exist there. And when I say does not normally exist there, what I mean is that there are hundreds and thousands of microorganism species that normally live in our bodies. Do you know that? Are you aware of the fact that within us exists 100,000 species of organisms in their tens of millions existing in us? And most of these exist in our guts, in our intestines, and they are a part of our defense mechanism. So not only do we have the blood system, you know that our brain is also part of our defense system. It is our brain that actually sets the temperature range for all the mechanisms in the body to go into play, to start to act, so that the attack on this foreign invader is swift and, and efficient enough so that it takes only this much time. So what is the role of health professionals? We support. We have learned these mechanisms, and so we give supporting measures. In today's era, we have antibiotics that uses the bloodstream flowing, a good flowing bloodstream, to transport the antibiotics and kill bacteria, fungus. Antivirals have been a topic of debate, and so that's why viral infections are a little different in the way it's being treated in the hospitals. I won't go into the detail of that. Maybe a later video will. And so, when somebody takes your temperature, it means we are trying to measure whether or not your body is fighting a foreign invader, an organism, in this case a virus, naturally. How do we know that it's COVID-19? Tests. And that's why we have test machines available by our Ministry of Health. And so the test to find out exactly if that infection that's causing that high temperature is caused by a virus, a confirmatory test is done, and that is to swab the nose, because that's where naturally is the entry point of this virus, the nose and the caves that exists within our skull, our head, the skull of our head. And so there are naturally occurring caves around here. There's some right at the front of the skull. And so this is where the swab is taken. It's put into the tube that contains it, that has the chemical that preserves whatever is being swabbed, and it's taken to a lab, put into a machine, and that machine will detect whether a viral product of the variety that we term as COVID-19 exists. And if it's positive, then that means that the fever, the high temperature that we detected is now confirmed. It is caused by an infection by COVID-19. But what it actually really means is that your body fought the infection. What it really means is that your body fought the infection. And the result of that fight is that the virus died. And the product of that viral death is being tested, and it's positive. So for those of us who have turned out positive, it means that your body fought it. Amazing, isn't it? Yes. It means that your body fought it. Now, it also means that your body will now remember that virus, because that's another part of our defense, of our natural defense design. The body sorts of takes a USB, stores all this fighting information, and keeps it there, so that the next time a same virus or a similar type of virus attacks our body, the defense goes into play, and it is so swift and so efficient that you can go about your normal duties without realizing that a fight has happened and the invader has died. That's the amazing thing about our natural defense mechanism, which I realize for a while now hasn't been shared a lot. And so, natural immunity, what makes me able to fight off infections easily. That's why the environment factor is very important. What kind of environment do we live in places like Fiji and the South Pacific? We are blessed. We are more than blessed, in fact. The crisis in India has been compared to the crisis in the South Pacific, and that's totally wrong. Why? Because people in India live in a totally different environment. If you have been to India way before COVID-19, you will realize that as soon as you put your foot into New Delhi, you breathe in the air and you can hardly breathe, especially coming from an atmosphere, ambient air quality like Fiji and the Pacific. I have shared before with friends my trip to India. When you go to India and it's a hot, sunny day, you can stare at the sun. That's the amount of air pollution India has. And there's various literature, there's heaps of literature that has documented the relationship between the air pollution in India and premature death because of complications of respiratory health issues. And so the environment in India has predisposed the populations in India to respiratory problems anyway. And so when a virus like this attacks, their respiratory defense mechanism is already weak. It's no wonder it's looking like a dangerous virus in India. Well, it's not. It's because of a big factor, the environment that they live in. India is the second most populated country in the world. And so any virus that goes on an outbreak with already a pre-existing respiratory health issue predominant in its population, that virus will have a field day of affecting the population because of the reality of this important factor, environment. So it comes back to our human body. Our human body, if the environment supports our body and it's strong enough and it supports the strength from within, we can tackle any infection, any foreign invader. Is this virus really deadly? A lot of reports are coming out. And if you take a look at the report that came out of the WHO combined mission with the Wuhan health authorities, you will see that more than 95% of the 80,000 cases that affected Wuhan, they were either very young and sickly, very old and sickly, or they had a combination of diabetes, kidney disease, heart disease, respiratory disease, cancer, and you name it. So NCDs was the killer. The virus, the COVID-19 virus, was the opportunist. Also, if you take a look at that report, 72,000 of the 80,000 cases were not confirmed by tests. That is a fact. And if you also take a look at that report, you will realize that the young population that were fit and healthy, that did not have a long-standing illness, had what was termed mild COVID-19 infection. That means they came to the hospital with a fever, and that was it. Or they had a cough with mild fever. That's what a mild infection looks like. And so that means that these people had their natural immunity intact. And that's why they were able to go through the infection having only mild symptoms. So that's a really good positive thing for us. It means there is no need to panic. There is no need to fear. What we need to do is realize that we have a strong immunity system. So what does it mean for people in Fiji right now? I noticed that in the last week, there was panic buying. People running to the supermarkets to get food because they will be going without food for the next 3 or 4 days, because that worries me, because if I go hungry, I am going to be more prone to infection. That is false. Our immune system has been inbuilt, and the completion of that immune design and the building of the immune system was completed way before we were born. It only matures more as we become adults, and then our lifestyle and the food we eat just determines how effective it's going to be in performing its function. So it's there. It's there. It's going to fight. Whatever energy you have inside your body, that's what it will use to carry out its function. And I mean that. Whatever energy you have within your body, that's what your defense mechanism is going to use to fight off the infection. So, during a crisis like this, where supposedly this virus is going around causing infection, is it necessary to have a full stomach? The answer is no. In fact, if you go hungry, you are doing your body a favor, because fasting allows your body to not focus on the junk that's coming in and focus a lot of energy on trying to deal with the junk. And I say junk because processed food is junk. And your body consumes a lot of energy just trying to deal with processed food. So this idea of getting so much processed food so that we have a feeling of a filled stomach in a crisis where we are trying to fight off infection is a wrong approach. It's not a medical approach. You want a medical approach? Do not worry about food. Your body is going to fight the infection anyway. If you do not have energy, your body will derive energy from within for the next 3, 4, 5 days. It will break down muscle, it will break down fat to produce energy to fight off the infection. And so, for those of us who are worried in these containment times when we are locked down and we are worried that we might not be able to have enough food, don't be. Don't be. If you are concerned about what I'm sharing now, read up, Google up fasting and its health benefits and how it helps fight infections. Google it, intermittent fasting, and how it helps gut microbes help fight infections naturally. How the body derives its energy from naturally occurring energy storage systems in muscles and fat. That's a fact. That's a medical fact that exists. And that's all part of our natural defense mechanism. If you go hungry, don't worry. You will not die from an infection. Your body will fight. Those we are worried about are those of us in our families that are very young, the newborn, especially if they are newborn and they have been sickly, the very young and they have been sickly, the very old and have been sickly, and the ones that have long-standing illnesses for quite a while, because the body has been fighting these infections for a long time. The energy reserves have shrunken. And so when a virus comes in, even though the natural defense mechanism is here, it can't fight. There's no more energy. So these are the people in amongst us that are vulnerable. And these are the ones that we should try and ration up food. And we make sure that if we are able to get our hands on much more healthier sources of food that provide much more than energy, we can have a balanced meal of protein and vitamins, well and good. If we cannot, do not worry. All we need right now is energy, clean air to breathe in, clean water, and have our minds clear, have our hearts clear. You know, if we are stressed, if we are fearful, if we are panicky, if we are getting anxious, we are spending energy with our minds. And our minds takes up a quarter of energy, just getting worried, just being fearful. That's too much energy to spend for nothing. So save that energy. Do not worry, do not panic. If you have someone to forgive, forgive, so that you do not get emotionally drained from all this unforgiveness. In these kind of times, these are all necessary for us to do so that our body can focus whatever energy is there to fight off infection. That is a natural way of doing it. What supportive measures are there? Like I said, drink clean water. Make sure you drink, breathe in clean air. Wake up in the morning, get outside, take deep breaths of good, fresh air, clean air in the morning. Exercise while you are at home. Whatever exercise you are able to do in the house, around the house. If you can plant, do whatever exercise you can access this on the internet. This will help blood flow and help your defense system get carried in the blood flow. Okay. Steam, inhalation. Woody leaves, Dronimoli leaves, lemon leaves. Put this in a pot, pour in hot water, breathe in it. What does that do? It helps, smoothens the mucus within our airway, and that allows for easy, it allows for us to easily cough it out and either spit it out into a free-flowing water so that it drains, or swallow it, and it will get hydrochloric acid act on it in the stomach, and you kill off the bug. Or the hundreds of millions of microorganisms that exist in the gut. They will eat it anyway. Did you know that there are 100,000 and more species of viruses that exist in the gut? Yes, so don't worry about one more species, like COVID-19, getting into the gut. There's already more than 100,000 species. And each of these species have tens of millions of them in our gut, naturally. As I'm speaking to you now, that's what's in my gut. So all of this helps infection. Steam inhalation, drink water, clean water, eat food. If you have access to food, good. Cooked food, raw food, it doesn't really matter. As long as you are feeding your body And if you are feeding your body with a balanced diet, well and good. If you cannot, do not stress about it. Don't stress, do not fear, do not panic. Exercise, and just keep on staying healthy. The usual staying healthy advice is more relevant now than ever before. And it will remain a true advice for staying healthy. I hope I have at least helped you to understand how useful our natural defense mechanism already is, and what the temperature measurement means, what the virus is compared to what we have as our natural mechanism, and the simple measures, practical measures that we can do to help ourselves and help the loved ones that we have around us. Thank you, Vinakapakalebu, for watching the video. Please send in more questions if you have. I will be talking on other topics that I have mentioned. And do like the video. And I hope to receive comments and more questions from you all. Vinakapakalebu, ni kalungata, ni moemana.